Welcome into episode 105 of the Sabremetrix podcast. My name is Bill. Alongside me, as always, is Walt. Walt, how you doing today, man?
I feel like I couldn't be doing better at this point. Game one of that series, it kind of makes you realize that the Sabres team is close to going on a pretty serious run here.
I think it was a great way to start the first round. We will go over, or excuse me, it was a great way to close out the first round, a great way to start the second. We will go over the first round. Also, apologies. We were going to do this Tuesday evening, and then I wasn't feeling all that well. Hand up. That's on me. I got to power through that, and I didn't. So we are here Thursday evening, the 7th. The Sabres have just beaten Montreal the night before in round one. But Walt, wanted to get your take on round one. Sabres, Boston, Sabres in six, called it. What was the X factor? Why do you think the Sabres won? And then the play style of the Bruins and how that series went. How do you think that will differ in round two against Montreal? I understand we've seen one game, but how do you think that will be different than the Boston series?
Well, I think, just round one, I just thought Sabres were just a better team. I didn't really think the Bruins were a team that I I mean, sure they deserve to be in the playoffs based on their standings, but
Yeah.
like their 5-on-5 play all year just wasn't that great. So if Sabres were able to win that battle consistently and not give up a lot of goals on the PK and, not let their goaltending get hot, that was going to be a pretty easy series for the Sabres to win. And I think they did make it look pretty easy. OT games are always a coin flip. So, mix in one of those. And then you just had one game two where you really just didn't show up. I mean, that's to be expected with a new team to the playoffs. So I think overall, I thought the Sabres handled that series pretty well. I think moving forward, I think the bigger difference with Montreal is just there's just a lot more talent on that team compared to that Boston team. I feel like that Boston team, you kind of really only had to worry about the Pasternak line most nights and like sometimes the Arvidsson line. But for the most part, a lot of their goal scoring ability was just concentrated on that Pasternak line. I think with Montreal, you just have so many offensive weapons on that team with Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkovsky. And then you have, Kirby Doc scoring like an insane goal in game one. Like you have guys that can make plays. Uh, so I think that's going to be the big difference. It's kind of just like a scaled up version of Boston with, I think, better underlying play too. But at the end of the day, I think really being able to play Montreal this series instead of Tampa, I think that's huge for the Sabres because I think Tampa would have been a tough matchup. Even though the Sabres handled them pretty well in the regular season, that Tampa team's a tough team to play in the playoffs, and they're a lot healthier now than they were during some of those games against the Sabres. So I think being able I just think Sabres match up better against this Montreal team, and I don't think it will be too much of a challenge to win this series. Like, sure, it's going to be pretty back and forth as we continue on, but I think talent wise, I think Sabres match up pretty well against them.
Okay. All right. So let's keep going over round one because we weren't able to recap it. I have here obviously Doan just being an absolute dog and taking over and taking a face shoved against the glass
Yeah,
hit for Benson to
taking
finish.
Pasternak and McAvoy, two being the two guys
It was a
you
little
beat to the puck was crazy.
symbolic if you kind
Yeah,
of look into those things. Benson, we'll get to him. I thought Thompson, Darlene, and Tuck, especially in like I'm talking game six, but in general, Thompson, I understand hasn't scored since game one. I thought played very well as well. He's been very effective, even if he isn't putting the puck in the net. And he's got some assists as well. Darlene, we know what he brings. Tuck is playing well as well. I have a note here about Peyton Krebs being like the king of stops and starts. And that's what when people say that a player plays the game honestly, it's your Peyton Krebs and your Beck Mallenstein. They might not be like perfect players. We saw what happened in overtime that one game where Krebs coughed it up. But he is someone that isn't going to take anything off. He's not going to take a shift off, and you can see it. He's relentless on the forecheck. He's constantly keeping his feet moving, and he isn't taking those extra seconds to curl and go attack again. No, he's stopping and he's starting. And that's a lot of hard work. It's hard work, and players don't do it all the time because you're going to gas yourself out. But he has, I will say, that ball of energy that Peyton Krebs brings, along with his stamina to be able to sustain that. And I've seen him do the stops and starts below the dots, go back down the ice. They collect the puck, and he's coming back up the ice with some speed instead of being completely gassed. And I wanted to give him some props for that because that's effective, especially on that first line with Tuck and Thompson. That leaves them a little bit more space and a little bit more opportunity to not have to put in that hard work. And I think he's been very effective in what he's done. Bone Byram, we're seeing his December form, and it's great to see. We were looking for that a lot in the second half of the season, and I'm glad that we're seeing it now. Power and Samuelson. Power's been rock solid. I've seen him even throw the body, and again, he's not trying to kill anyone, but he is separating the man from the puck. What a hit is supposed to be. Thought that's great. Samuelson, obviously potting some goals. It's great to see as well. But it's very fun to watch him be so assertive defensively and swallowing up plays, holding guys against the wall. Look, we are stopping this play here. Instead of being a little bit more timid, a little bit more passive. Obviously, he's a little bit more healthy as well. And I thought, as needed, the fourth line's been solid. Those are all the notes that I had, at least just for game 6, but round 1 in general. Anyone that I didn't mention, I can mention everyone on the team, and then also goaltending. Alex Lyon coming in has been a very, very productive and I think calming presence for the team, because I was a little shaken after what happened with UPL. Okay, I got all of that out for round 1 because there is plenty to talk about, and I don't want to spend too much time on it since pretty much everyone's passed by. Anything else for you, Walt, you wanted to mention about the Boston series before we actually get into the meat and potatoes and stuff here?
I mean, not really. That's kind of serious. You just want to get out of the way. Like, just go in, do your business, and leave. Like, that's kind of how I view that series. Like, get it over in as little games as possible and do your job in advance to the next round.
The one thing I will say, and I'm going to try to transition this into the series now, is with Boston, it was very much more you could see that they wanted to try to sneak in the first goal and then lock things down and just play that counter. We are going to soak up pressure, and then if we have a chance, we're going to send someone, specifically Pasternak, behind your defenseman.
And then they'd sit back when they'd be up too. That was like, I mean, when the Sabres would be up, that was the funniest part. That they'd be down 2 and they'd be like sitting back in that same like trap.
Going into the series, I'm like, okay, you could kind of tell like this is probably how they're going to play. And then when they did that, Sabres were up 4, and they're trying to play a neutral zone trap. That's when it was confirmed. You already knew, but then you're like, I know this for sure. This team they just don't have the firepower to come back in a game. So they're going to try to score first. And then if not, they just have to stick to their structure and hope it works. Versus Montreal, and now we can get into that. That's a little different. And we can go over game 1, but I just want to talk about Montreal as a whole, and then we can start going into the game 1 stuff if we really want to. But this is a different team. You've already mentioned it. I will say, I think we might owe Tampa a thank you because they did a number on Montreal, and you can tell I don't want to say they're shaken. That feels like bulletin board material, but their groove is a little bit off. And all I've been hearing is Anthony Cirelli did quite the number on their top line, guys like Caulfield and Demidov and that lineup there. They I think who was it? Slavkovsky had like a big game 1 or something like that, scored a hat trick, hasn't scored since or whatever. So I think we saw a little bit of that in game 1. But do you think Montreal, I think they personally have the ability to find their form very quickly. But do you think that has a little bit to do with it? They're a little tired from not going home. Tampa did a good job of kind of locking them down and might have thrown off their flow and their groove. And Sabres have at least found their power play groove, according to game 1. Do you think that has anything to do with the series? Do you think it's only just going to be for game 1 and then it's just kind of a wash after that. I'm curious to your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it even just gave the Sabres kind of a game plan on how to shut down those guys, because I thought they did a pretty good job of that at 5-on-5 last game. So yeah, I mean that series going to 7 games, Tampa being the much better team in game 7. Like they were infinitely better than Montreal that game. They probably win that game like 97 times out of 100, Tampa. So the fact that Sabres kind of get this matchup against a Montreal team that probably wasn't the better team towards the tail end of that series, I think that's just huge. And yeah, I do think, maybe it's in some of those guys' heads that they weren't able to produce much offensively last series, but at the end of the day, it is the playoffs. Like Sabres have tough defensive matchup guys too that could also do a number on other teams' top lines. Like we saw them completely shut down Boston in game 3. They really couldn't get much of anything done. We saw Charlie McAvoy look terrible pretty much that entire series in the first round. So Sabres also have the ability to, be tough on the forecheck and make guys look silly and, kind of dominate the puck at times. And I think that may be the even bigger factor for this Montreal team, is that the Sabres team also isn't an easy matchup. And I think this is why it was so important to win the division, because if you didn't win the division, like you'd be on that Montreal path where you have to play Tampa the first round and then the winner of Montreal Boston, or Montreal first round, the winner of Tampa Boston. The fact that this team was able to play Boston first and then has to play Montreal Tampa after, I just feel like that's such a better path. So I will see how things play out, but it's looking good for the Sabres after game 1.
I don't know why I said so quickly to get us past the Boston thing, because there are a couple things I did want to mention there. So I do apologize for hopping back there. One more praise I do want to give is out to the to Lindy and the coaching staff, kind of keeping the team calm, especially after game 2. And maybe even after game 5 when they didn't win it at home and people were like, I'm a little worried now. I think they can still win in Boston, but I'm a little worried. I wanted to give that praise to the coaching staff as well. One person in particular, at least for round 1, no. Congratulations on the power play doing well in game 1 versus Montreal. But the last thing on the Boston series, did you want to talk about the whole Benson McAvoy thing? Or is that kind of like everyone's kind of spoken their piece on that? That's the one thing I really had here that I forgot to ask you about. Did you want to talk about that? We don't have to, but
Uh, I mean, I guess we can. I guess I just feel like that Bruins series is like so irrelevant in my mind that
yeah, I mean,
I
we're
wasn't
past
really
it.
worried after like game 3 and
Yeah.
everything at the end. I'm just like, just don't injure our guys. You guys will be golfing soon.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we won't go into all the like the points that I was making, stuff like that. But like, look, I don't condone what Benson did, and I certainly don't condone what McAvoy did there as well. But I will say that wasn't without context. There was a low hit on
Yeah.
Malenstein when Josh Norris scored his empty net goal. You see in the background, Darlene's getting like pile driven by
Yeah, that was
McAvoy.
crazy.
And there's a couple other things probably in the series that I didn't even mention there. So
I
look,
think it
like
was McAvoy too going for a headshot when Doan
on
got that
Dome.
assist on the
Yeah,
Benson goal
that's
and
right.
he
That's
missed the
correct.
headshot.
But he kinda did. Yeah, I mean, he kinda did, kinda didn't. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just like, look, like, I'm not excusing Benson's play there, and obviously not excusing McAvoy's. I'd say McAvoy's is worse with his response there, but I'm also not going to ignore all of the other incidents.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah, I mean, like,
it's all the frustration too. Like McAvoy had a terrible series. Like he
it was
looked
not good.
awful,
No,
especially for a guy supposed to be like
the
one of your
guy,
2 top players.
you
Like
know,
he looked
that was bad.
terrible. Like he had some games where he was just overwhelmed by the Sabres forecheck and just forcing stuff. So I don't know if that played a role in it too, but taking a full swing, slew foot or not, is just crazy.
Yeah,
Like that's just dangerous. And it's funny seeing Benson kind of just laughing, like wow,
that was
like
wild.
he got like kind of hit with it, and then he starts like laughing,
All the
and I was
guys
like,
that picture of all the guys barking at him and him just laughing. You're just like, oh man,
Yeah.
it's he is an absolute sicko. Which, by the way, apparently I don't know. I just kind of came up with it last night, but I'm gonna try to make it sick. I'm calling make it sick, make it stick. I'm gonna try to call Benson and Doan the sicko bros. I don't know why. They're just a bunch of sickos. Like they just do sicko
Yeah.
stuff on the ice. You're like, geez. Only a real sicko would do something like that. And I'm not talking sicko as in like pulling off some crazy move, like, oh, this guy's got cojones. He's pulling up. No, they're like what Don't did. I'm just gonna throw my face against the glass to make sure that we wrap up this series real quick. Let me just
Yeah. I
do
mean,
that.
they can do the crazy moves too, which is like the
I
most
can.
fun part. Like,
Look at Benson's first goal in the league.
yeah. And then Doan too, like some points this series tried like crazy toe drags that have like
That's true.
somehow worked.
He had the
He
between
in
the
one
legs.
sequence, he did a toe drag around like three guys. And then I think they almost scored. Like that'd have been like one of the crazier goals set up by him. But
Yeah.
yeah, just that's the type of player I feel like you need at least like two or three of to fill out the middle of your lineup if you want to be a good NHL team. And that's the type of player the Sabres, really lacked for a while. I mean, I think O'Reilly could be a dog type player, but that was so long ago at this point. That
How
was
many
like,
how many other players on other teams is O'Reilly really frustrating besides like, oh, this guy's beating me on a lot of faceoffs or he's batting down my pucks?
yeah,
He's
I
not getting
think,
under the skin of other players, and I'm not saying Doan does either necessarily, but, like,
yeah,
there's
there,
levels to this. There's, like, O'Reilly, then there's Doan, then there's Benson when it comes to, like, the guys getting under skin and causing problems like that.
yeah, because it was a big difference to O'Reilly is because he just played well defensively, didn't do any after the whistle stuff. That was why he never had any penalty minutes.
Mhm.
He was so good at never getting a penalty. Benson gets a ton of penalty minutes
Which I
for
like, I'm not
yeah.
trying to crap on O'Reilly for
But
that
he
either, like
draws a ton of stuff too, because that was the other crazy thing. Someone posted like the penalty box score after game 6 against the Bruins. Benson drew every single penalty
yeah, and then he
uh,
drew
that the
the
that the Bruins got that
yep,
game.
and then drew the one early in round 1, so, and game 1
Yeah.
for round 2. God, man. I first time being in the playoffs? Well, yes, actually, thank you for asking. Because I keep calling it round 1 when it's round 2 or whatever. I'm sure I've done that, like,
You got to
multiple
do
times.
like what do they call it, the Eastern Conference semifinals, like that.
Yeah.
That never made any sense to me. I
It's
don't know if
really
they
like the
still do
division
that.
it's really like the first round's the division semifinals, then it's the division finals, then it's the conference finals, then it's the league finals, essentially is how it goes. So that's how I
Yeah, they
go
do
by it.
like first round as like conference quarterfinals. Like I'm not calling it
Yeah. It's all right, stop that. That's
that.
silly. Okay. Let's see what else we have here. I still kind of want to talk a little bit more, almost like we're doing kind of like a preview of the series. Um, when it comes to the forwards, defensemen, and goaltenders, and I understand we are talking on paper. In reality, this is different, and we saw in game 1 it could be a little bit different when it comes to goaltenders. But who do you think has the advantage? And I will say personally, for me, I think um, high end skill wise, I think Montreal has more of it, but I think the Sabres have better depth. And I think the playoffs, a lot of it is just trying to prevent the best players, trying to shut down guys like other teams are trying to shut down Thompson and Darlene. Well, that's what the Sabres are going to try to do as well. And how well does your depth play? And I think the Sabres have better depth. So I would give the Sabres a slight advantage for forwards. I'm not saying they are better, but I think as a unit, they are just a slightly better defenseman. I think it's clear to say the Sabres have the advantage. And then in goaltending, on paper, it's Montreal for sure. But we saw in game 1, doesn't necessarily mean that that's how, Dobas or Dobish or whatever his name is going to really steal the series. What are your thoughts on the forwards, defensemen, and goaltenders? Who do you think has the advantage, and how wide do you think the advantage is?
I think forwards. I might give a slight edge to Montreal just because I think their ceiling with that forward group is so high.
I get it.
Like
I
I
get it.
I think some guys are like still finding another level, like Suzuki, Caulfield. I think all those guys honestly are still in the process of finding new levels. So that kind of scares me a little bit because
But will they find that new level within the series?
Yeah,
Like,
within the series. Yeah,
long
long
term,
term.
Montreal, I it's fair to say Montreal is a better forward group, but I'm talking for the next week and a half, do they have a better forward group?
I after game one, it's tough to say that they do because Sabres won that game with the Tage line playing like not good at all. Like they didn't do anything all game, and Sabres still won a 4-2 game. And I think that's got to be scary if you're a Montreal team because, yeah, at the same time, their guys are finding levels. Our guys are too, with guys like Doan and Benson.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, like on paper, I think Montreal has the higher ceiling to the forward group, but winning a playoff series, I think you might give a slight edge to Buffalo. So that's a tough one. I guess we'll see how this series plays out because, yeah,
Razor thin margins on that. It's like,
yeah,
I if I can make a case for either side, we're a Sabres podcast, so obviously we're gonna look at the bright and cheery side of the Sabres. So yeah, it could go either way. I totally get where you're coming from that.
and then I guess like going to defense, I love Lane Hudson. I think he's awesome. I think though Darlene has a little bit more experience, so maybe edge to Darlene for number one defenseman, and then I think Sabres too. That top four has just really been really good for them this whole year.
Mhm.
I think Dobson's kind of struggled a bit for Montreal. I
He's
don't really think he's
injured, right? Yeah.
yeah, he's just hasn't been, really that guy that I feel like they kind of expected him to be when they traded for him. So I think, you know, edge to the Sabres just based on how well they've been playing this year. And that top four and then goaltending too. I know like Sabres goaltending is like you could say it's like unproven. Like in terms of Lyon never being a playoff starter. Montreal's goaltending is unproven too. And I think Jakob Dobesh getting beat on that Greenway shot, that's gotta be like a confidence killer because that was
That was
something
interesting.
he probably should have stopped. And
Hit him in the glove. I thought Greenway sniped
yeah,
it. I was with my buddy and we're like, "Oh," and then we watched the replay and we're like, I mean, I'm still happy we scored,
yeah.
obviously, but I thought that was like a snipe and it wasn't.
Yeah, I
I
know. It just wasn't a clean goal. So I
Yeah.
feel like that's got to be a confidence killer. And we'll see how he bounces back. I mean, he's had a good stretch recently, but at the end of the day, I think both teams kind of have unproven goaltending.
No.
So I think both teams are in a situation where they have other guys who can step up if the guy they expected to be their number one this series struggles a little bit. I think both teams can say that. So I guess we'll see. I mean, it's another thing where it's like still like kind of even. Uh, I th- I mean, based on how Lions been playing, I think edge for the Sabres now. But big picture, I think they're pretty even situations.
Yeah, I mean, I kinda wish we did talk before the series did start, but yeah, let's get into kinda game 1 and a little bit more specifics on that because, yeah, if you're going based off that, then for sure Lion has the edge, but each game is each game, whether Montreal lost 4-2 or they lost 10-0, it's one game at the end of the day, and that's probably what they're preaching. Look, flush it. Just go out there and play the way we know how. Um, and which leads me to say, I don't think Dobesh is going to have those like a puck hit his glove and go in. And I don't think Hudson's going to eat it along the boards, giving Benson the perfect 2-on-1 to go down with Doan on. So look, I think there was all like the Sabres did a lot of good, but there's a lot of improvement that could be done as well. I didn't It wasn't overly noticeable. There were still guys in front, of course, but I didn't really overly like notice Montreal getting super aggressive when it comes to getting guys to the net front or trying to clog up the middle of the ice. Again, they were still trying to do it. That's what all hockey teams do. But in comparison to Boston to Montreal, I thought the middle of the ice was a little bit more open. It was also a little bit more open for Montreal as well when it comes to the Sabres and their defense and how they were doing. But I thought, to me personally, and I would like to see how it is in game two, I thought it was a little bit more open in maybe the house they talk about. And I thought it was a little bit more open. The Sabres might be able to take advantage of that because they have such a unique combination of size, speed, and skill, especially with their forwards. With Boston, you can bump, but we have enough skill to beat you and actually beat you. With Montreal, we have enough skill to keep up with you, but we also have the physical edge. It would appear. I think it's a lot for Montreal to handle. And do you agree that maybe you notice a little bit more space there? And what are some of the other keys to the series for the Sabres, not only from what you saw with game one, but hey, Montreal's going to try to prevent blank. How do the Sabres counter and win this series?
Yeah, I think one of the differences compared to the first series, I think Montreal's like actually trying to like score and win games. I feel like the Bruins team a lot of nights like literally was they like weren't trying to score. Like the only time they'd be able to score is like against the grain of play where they're
Yeah,
just
just
like a
counter.
turnover and it's like a
Yeah.
breakaway counterattack. But Montreal's actually trying to compete 5-on-5 and go head to head with them. So I think stuff will be a little bit less clogged in front of the net. I think you may have to lock things down a little bit more defensively against a team like Montreal because Boston did kind of expose the Sabres a few times. I think though the Sabres forechecking ability that's going to open up stuff for them, and it did against the Bruins. That was a big reason they won that series.
Question on that. I was actually literally just writing this down to remind myself. How do you view the Sabres forecheck versus Montreal's defense? Because the thing about Boston was they have big defensemen, but they aren't great puck movers. So if you get in on the forecheck, they're going to cough it up. Montreal, I'm not saying they're the best puck moving defenseman core, but they do have Hudson and Dobson and a couple other guys that they're not Zadorov that's just going to throw the puck blindly and then punch some guy in the back of the head randomly just because he wants to go sit down for 2 minutes. That's not going to happen with Montreal. So how do you see that specific game within the game for the Sabres forecheck versus Montreal's defense, and the way that they're able to corral the puck and get the puck out cleanly, get the puck broken out cleanly on the first attempt? There we go. It wasn't my first
Uh,
attempt trying to say that.
I mean, I really think there's a skill level that can handle the Sabres forecheck. That's just how aggressive it is. I think that's just the thing with some of their games, like Benson. That's a guy that doesn't have to win the puck to disrupt the play. Like as long as he's pressuring the defenseman and rushes their decision, rushes their, just their choice to push it up the ice, that'll disrupt things downstream and kind of turn into a positive play for the Sabres, even if it's not initially a turnover. So I just think if Sabres continue to play like this, it's going to be hard to find a team that can handle it. I really think it's going to be tough to beat the Sabres forecheck. I think Montreal's a better defense group to be able to handle it. But I don't know, just the IQ and forechecking ability of that Doan and Benson line is just they haven't been able to really be stopped this playoffs. I think they're at like a 65, 66 expected goals for percentage at 5-on-5. Like they're just like cooking their opponent out there.
I am pro sign Zach Benson as soon as possible. It is good to hear that he loves Buffalo just as much as we love him.
Yeah, they need
Glad.
to get it. I feel like you got to go long term at all costs. Yeah, I would hate to see a bridge deal there. That's like the
Yeah.
most important guy to sign this offseason in my mind.
Agreed. Yeah, I would say even over Tuck. Nothing against Tuck. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to essentially sink Tuck's ship by saying that. By
I
raising
mean,
Benson, I'm just saying.
Tuck probably has like 3, 4 good years left. Benson probably has 12 good years left. I just feel like if you just do simple math, you realize like kind of the value in guys you have to focus on before you change your attention to something else.
I will say when it comes to I know agents are dealing with contracts and dealing with the team and stuff like that, but knowing that even his own teammates call him the dumbest person they've ever met might mean the Sabres could get a pretty good deal on Zach Benson. And I'm hoping that's the case.
Mix in some clause in his contract, some Italian leather to bring down the price, some circumvention.
Oh man, get him you know, pay him in carny rides. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean he sold his jersey number for some Italian leather, so maybe he could do some cap circumvention and get his AAV down.
I feel like you could get him to like, you could just like buy him a business in the middle of like somewhere random in like Ontario County. And just be like, yeah, we bought this for you to so you don't take as much money. And be like, okay. And be like, where's Ontario County? Be like, it's past Rochester. And just like,
Yeah, he's got to start like running like those small county fairs.
you know what? I could see Zach Benson being like the mayor of a town of about 120 people when he's like 65 years old. And it's one of those towns where everyone's just, yeah, he's the mayor. We all love him. He's just doing his thing. He's a little zany sometimes, but he's harmless kind of thing. Next thing you know, it's one of the nicer towns. Now it's bubbling up to about 5,000 people. Look at that. Would you look at that?
He's gonna be living like Marilla or something.
I would
apparently,
literally just,
apparently they have a big summer. I don't know if it's a big summer festival, but I remember the summer I worked at Top City Shore when I was in like high school or college or something, and all my coworkers took off the same night to go to like the Marilla like town fair or something like one
oh
night in
yeah,
July.
down in Eastern. By the way, that whole Benson thing I was just making up as I was going along. So if you're like, what the hell is this guy talking about? I don't know either. So leave me alone. Yeah, it's something in East Aurora. It's like a concert or something like that, right? Is that?
No, this was literally in Marilla. It was like a Marilla
Oh,
just like town fair. So that just like makes me think of Zach Benson, like
hmm. And it
as
was
a
like,
carny guy. It's probably same vibe. I could see him doing like small town carnivals in Western New York. They got a few too. They got a lot of church festivals. They have what is
yeah,
it
they
like
have
Old
like
Home Days in like
Pol-
Williamsville? Like
like Polish festival or something like that or whatever.
yeah,
Not, I'm not talking Genghis Day.
there's so many carnivals here that it's like I feel like he's got easily a side hustle set up for him here. He could be doing like meat raffles. Like he could be doing it all. It's like the perfect market to be like a carnival guy.
How did the conversation divulge into this?
Well, I'm just saying they could. If I'm at the negotiation table, I'm like, there's nowhere else that's better for running like carnivals in the summer than Western New York because every town loves having like a
Yeah,
carnival. I just feel like there's so many like per capita in Western New York. It's got to be more than like most other metro areas.
I will say the people in Western New York do not take nice weather for granted because there's just such a small window of it. So um, get me out to some carnivals there. I remember going to one. I remember being in Philly and they put up a carnival in like a broken down Kmart parking lot. And I'm like, this is, I don't
Oh
like, you
yeah.
want to go on the Ferris wheel? I'm like, not really. Like, I don't know if I'll be making it off there. So, all
I
right.
remember the Bills used to do a carnival. I feel like I'm maybe like misremembering this, but I remember when I was younger, my family used to go to some carnival in the Bills parking lot like every like July or something, and they'd have like a few rides and the team store would be open. There'd be no one there because like no one was on the Bills bandwagon at the time because they were terrible. But my
Well,
family would always
okay.
be there.
I would love to hear if anyone else remembers those. And I told myself I was going to start saying this more at the beginning of episodes. But while you're commenting in there, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I think we're actually like one or two away from like 100 subscribers, and we
Oh wow,
appreciate you. Yeah, I
I'll
like a
take that.
nice triple digit number, huh? I like that.
Yeah,
So help us out. Um, I will say, live streams. I thought we were going to be doing more live streams during games. You were at a bunch of them. I've been watching some of the games with some buddies, some nights as well, and then other nights it just doesn't work out. So at some point we'll get to that, or maybe just some other live stream recordings that we've done before too, because we really enjoy them. I love when people are commenting, and while we're talking, we can just kind of hang out and have topics that people kind of bring to us. Let's get back on topic, talking about broken down. Oh, let's talk about it. Fantasy Island isn't opening this summer up on Grand Island or whatever it's called now.
that
So
that's the exact thing Zach Benson and his new business could take over.
that's what I'm saying. Look,
They could
it's
reopen Fantasy Island.
it's all coming together, folks. Looks like Zach Benson's going to be here for another 8 years. Okay, let's go back to talking about the Sabres. If you've stuck through all of that and you're still here, appreciate you, because that one's tough. Sam Carrick. Noah Oslam will not be playing in round 2. That's what they said about Sam Carrick, though. And sounds like Sam Carrick is, if he could, like, again, if you are listening to this on Friday, it sounds like it could go tonight. And again, we are recording Thursday, so if you're listening Thursday, sounds like it could go tomorrow. What do you do? Do you mess with the mojo of the team and take Kozak out of there, or maybe someone else? Maybe someone's just banged up enough that you're like, look, we're just going to give him a game. We're going to throw in Carrick, and then we're going to go from there. That could obviously change things. But do you mess with things right now, Walt, and put Carrick in there? Or do you just say, look, we're going to let them go for another game. We'll see what happens. We'll talk to you before game 3.
Honestly, I think waiting till game 3 may not be the worst thing. Like, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what Carrick's current status is, but I feel like right now you don't really have the need to rush him back into things too early. Because at the end of the day, he is a guy you're going to want for the long haul for the playoffs. So, yeah, I don't have an issue if he's not 100% to maybe, give him a few more days rest before game 3. This series is a little bit different because, I think every game this series is every other day. So
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a lot different than round 1 where we had 2 breaks where it was like 2 days in between games. So the games come fast. I think, maybe let him rest. I thought Kozak was great game 1. But Carrick does bring an element that this team needs, and he has great leadership too. So I think as soon as they think he's ready to go, I think he'll be in the lineup. So if that's game 2 and they think it's safe for him to go in, I'd play him game 2.
I'm leaning let it be for now, and then let's see what happens. You might need someone, especially when it comes to matchups in Montreal for faceoffs, and that's where I could see him inserted. So if they're going to keep Kozak in,
Yeah.
but Kozak's been he was getting banged up. What was it, game 6 against Boston, and then Montreal? I think he blocked a couple
Yeah,
shots.
he could be playing hurt too.
I think
Like,
he
that's
is.
the other
Well,
thing.
a lot of these guys are playing hurt. Let's be honest here, and you've come to find out, like, oh yeah, like I actually wasn't playing with one of my arms the entire time. You're like, okay, but yeah, that could be something where look, like he is banged up enough that we're just going to let him in. But if he's okay, Kozak, we're talking about here, then I say maybe play him in game 2. And then just see
Yeah.
where you're at with game 3. I think Carrick in game 3 would not be the worst idea, especially when it comes to the face-offs and matchups.
Yeah, it's just like the tough part, not knowing like exactly what's wrong with each individual player. Because I'd say if Kozak's banged up and Carrick looks good to go, play Carrick. If Carrick's still banged up and Kozak's a little bit better than we thought, play Kozak. I think it's nice to kind of have the depth options, especially in the bottom of the lineup. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm definitely really excited to get Carrick back on this team because he's such a fun piece to have on this team. It was really fun watching him play hockey the tail end of the season. So I'm
He was
looking
also
forward
on
to
his
him coming back.
He was also on that ridiculous scoring heater where like he was on
Yeah,
pace for like if he played at that pace in like scoring in a Sabres jersey like he would have had like at like 50 goals or something like that.
I
Something
know.
crazy.
If he was like still like 27 and he scored like 20 goals playing like that, some team probably would have given him like 6.5 million in the off
Absolutely.
season.
Dude,
Like
it's
that.
even when you watch it, like I hate to say this. But I've noticed it. There have been a couple times where I've noticed Jason Zucker's age. And I am not saying he's playing poorly. And quite frankly, I don't blame him. He's like 34 years old. It's been a long freaking season. He's had a pretty good season too. He had that virus that took him out for a while and whatever. I'm not necessarily blaming him. But I remember seeing Carrick come in and I'm like, he's got still some jump in his step. And he's like 34 as well. I
Yeah, I know.
constantly forget how old Sam Carrick is. I don't know why, but he's an older fella. And he's still got the jump in his step. So that's good to see.
Yeah, I think it's really. Yeah, I was feeling how old he is. I think like just watch the NHL for so long, time passes by like so quickly. Like I feel like I remember when he was
Yeah.
like just breaking into the league, and I know he was.
He was a late bloomer.
Yeah, it just feels like it was like 2-3 years ago. But then you look back at like hockey database, it's like oh wow, that was a long time ago. He's
Yeah.
34 now.
Sam Carrick. We will see. We'll see if he's in for game 2. Is there anything else about game 2 that you wanted to mention? Friday night, I'm expecting a few more Montreal fans there. But
It
besides that,
wasn't that bad on Wednesday, I thought. I
it didn't
thought
seem. I think it might have been Joe Marino, the not Joe Marino. Shout out Joe if you end up hearing this. I think he was the one that mentioned like you're gonna see a lot of red on the broadcast because they're in like the sight line of the camera, but like in the 300s, there's like no one in red up here kind of
yeah.
thing. So
Well, I was
it
just
looked
looking
worse than it
at
was apparently.
yeah, like ticket prices just value-wise. I was looking yesterday. I think 300s were going for like 240, and then
Ooh,
you could sit like really good seats in the 100 level for 280. So I'd imagine a ton of Montreal fans are like, I'm just gonna get much better seats for like 40 more
40 bucks
dollars
more.
because there were
Yeah,
some like really nice seats in the 100 level
yeah.
going for sub $300. Like you couldn't even get that at any of the games in Boston. It was tough finding
Hmm.
seats in the lower level for under 300. So yeah, it was a really cheap game, but I think it's kind of like round one, you get the hype of first playoff series in a while, first playoff series of the season.
Mhm.
I think round two is kind of where it's like it's a step in the process. I think it's like not as exciting as a conference finals,
Mhm.
even though it's more expensive to buy seats from the Sabres than it was in the first round. And it's certainly not the Stanley Cup finals. So
That
I think
makes
this is
sense.
this is a round where it's like the face value of the seats is like really close to like what the resale market's going for. And
Interesting.
I
Hmm.
yeah, because I mean, if you bought a seat for this from the Sabres and weren't able to go, I'm talking about like non-season ticket holders, and you wanted to flip it on Ticketmaster. Like after fees, you'd be taking like a pretty decent loss on your seats, and we definitely didn't see that with the first round.
No, no, and I wouldn't expect that, like you said, for the conference final or this, especially the
Yeah,
Stanley Cup final, of
yeah,
course. But like, I wouldn't expect that either. It's just kind of one of those. It makes sense, not it doesn't make sense. I still don't like the format necessarily. But you can kind of see why they want the first round to be so exciting and hyped up. And it was going to be no matter what in Buffalo, especially that first game. But yeah.
yeah. Because that's the thing. I know Friday's got a little bit more juice in terms of the resale market because it's a night game on a
Mhm.
weekend. So, or at least a night before the weekend. But I'm just thinking, like, I wonder if the price is so high that game because a ton of Montreal fans are planning on coming in, and a lot of them probably won't have work on Saturday. You could take a half day Friday, take Friday off or something.
Yeah.
That's kind of my concern. Is I think we'll see a little bit more red in the arena on Friday, but at the end of the day, if the Sabres play like they did in Game One, I don't really think you have to worry that much about it because Montreal was really never in that game right from like the start. Really, it just never really felt like they were in that thing.
I thought maybe the Kirby dot goal, them maybe getting some juice off that, like, oh crap, like it wasn't really supposed to go in, but it did. So like let's kind of like empty the tank a little bit, and it just didn't happen. So
Yeah,
yeah, it was just a good game from the Sabres.
yeah.
Like it
Like
wasn't
I was
perfect.
never nervous. I think that was like the
Yeah.
best part was I was never nervous that whole game. They score five
Score a couple
minutes
on the
in,
power
I'm
play.
riding. Yeah, I'm riding the high from that goal, and it's like
Mhm.
that whole game I wasn't even stressed. It was like an easy game for the heart.
Again, I want to heed the warning that look, Hudson's not going to eat it like that, and Dobish probably isn't going to have one hit his glove and bounce in behind him. So like it's going to be a more challenging series than at least the first game led on. At least that's my belief. I have the Sabres winning in 7. I view the teams as very, very similar, and it was just kind of like we went by like who has the advantage on paper, but it really is like who's playing better at this time. Are the forwards playing better at this time, defense or whatever? And I hate to say it, we do need to give a little bit of thanks to Tampa for kind of doing what they did to the Canadiens, and there's another reason why, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
very important to win the division.
Also,
Still can't.
thanks to Tampa for losing too. That was
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, for losing and also losing the division because I,
Oh yeah,
I
that
was
too.
getting to the point where I was like, okay, this team might actually make the freaking playoffs. And I was trying to be
Yeah.
like, but I never I was like, holy crap, like I can't believe they're actually going to do this from where they came from. And never in a million years I was like, oh yeah, and they're also going to win the division.
Yeah.
I didn't even think you talked to me on December 7th. I'm like, I hate to say this team's not going to make the playoffs. And like I thought I saw it coming because I was like, yeah, this team's probably like an 88 to 92 point team. I got myself up to 92 points before the season. And I thought I was like, I feel like I'm being a little generous here. Whoops.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
boy.
kind of like each step of the season, you're like, oh, they can make it to the playoffs.
Ooh.
Oh, they might not be a wild card spot. They could get one of the divisional spots, and it's like, oh, they could get home ice the first round, and then the last like few weeks of tournament, oh wow, this team could actually win the division.
And yep, it's the now I'm at the point where I was like, look, I just wanted the team to make the playoffs. Everything else to me, gravy. Now I'm a little bit more like, hey, this team can make a run. And like I'm already playing with house money over here. We're into the second round. We're playing a team like Montreal, which is just a great matchup for, the for us and the casual viewer. Two fantastic fan bases going at it, and I'm like, I feel like, especially after kind of like how the first game went, and I understand I just gave the stipulations, but all they need is 3 more wins. Are we disappointed if the Sabres don't close out this series? I understand it's only one game, but I was at the point where I was like, you can't disappoint me. Now I'm a little bit like, well, no, you guys are playing well enough that you guys should have the expectation of closing this thing out and getting to the Eastern Conference Final. So to close this thing out, well, what's your expectations? Not of like what you think will happen, but like, will you be disappointed? Of course, you'll be disappointed. Excuse me. Will you be disappointed to the point where it's like you guys missed an opportunity, or like you guys messed up by not winning the series? I don't know how I'm supposed to say this, but like I think people are picking up what I'm trying to get at. Will like the disappointment be more than just like, oh crap, we lost the series? Like, no, like we really had a chance to like not only make a run and win this series, go to the Eastern Conference Final, but maybe even to the Stanley Cup Final. Is that your thinking? I'm just trying to gauge where you're at.
I think I was a pretty early investor into this team could win multiple playoff series. I think I said it like back in like January or something, or February. Like I was like, this if this team gets in, I'm not satisfied with just making it. They need to win a series or two. At this point, I mean, the goal is certainly to win the Stanley Cup. They're definitely in the mix. Like if you think the Bills are a Super Bowl contender every year, you'd certainly have to think this Sabres team has as good of a chance of winning a championship as any of those Bills teams did. So
Well, look, this is not a shot at the Bills, and this is just my personal feeling. Bills have Josh Allen, whatever. But it feels like the Bills were here. They're going up, 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 up. And now they're still towards the top, but they're on the downswing. And I'm not saying the downswing is going to be immediate and they're just going to plummet, but it feels like the peak is they've already reached the peak and they're still good. But the Sabres, on the other hand, they're still on the up. And look, there might be some players in the offseason or players that they're trying to trade for where like when no trade lists are submitted, there are still players that are like, look, I thought it was a flash in the pan. I think the Sabres are going to come back down to earth. But you win 2 series and you go to the Eastern Conference Finals. Look, there's always going to be people that don't want to live in Buffalo. Yes, there aren't palm trees. We're well aware. That's why we got so mad when he said that. We're freaking so well aware of that, buddy. There's going to be people that don't want
yeah,
to come to Buffalo
well,
for that. But
hockey's the one sport though where it's like
there you
these
go.
guys
Yep.
aren't coming from like San Diego or
Yeah.
like South Beach. Like these guys are from like a small town in Ontario or like somewhere in Slovakia where it's like Buffalo's like pretty comparable to what they're used to probably. So
Yeah.
I think that's a huge benefit. But yeah, like you were saying, if they win 2 series, it's a great sell for everyone in this league. And just like around the league, like some of the player podcasts, like I know Matt Kachuk and his podcast have been talking about Buffalo like all the time. Like the longer Buffalo can keep this up and have guys around the league watching the games while they're at home talking about this team, I think the more it does for their brand. And to compare it to the Bills once again, we saw the same thing with the Bills too. Like
Mhm.
it would have been, unless you backed up the Brinks truck like you did with like Mario Williams, you were never getting like elite talent to sign in Buffalo. Now you're able to get guys that take pay cuts to have a chance to play on the Bills. So I think Sabres, I think they could be at that level fairly soon. I mean, yeah, like you said, if they win 2 series, make the Eastern Conference Finals with still really young team. I think that's a huge sell this offseason. And we even saw that era in the past with the Sabres, and they're able to land someone like Christian Ehrhoff. His goal was to win a Stanley Cup. He picked Buffalo to try to win a Stanley Cup. Unfortunately, that was during like the poisonous contract era, where if a guy like would have retired early, you get
Yeah.
some huge cap recapture penalties. So they had to use a buyout on his contract. But he had some solid seasons here. It's just the team
Yeah.
around him was terrible.
That was kind of a mess. But I'm still like going from, yeah, this is all gravy, this is house money, you know, or whatever, to kind of like you, man. Like I think they should win this series. It'll be very
Yeah.
disappointing if they don't.
Well, I think it's kind of like '06. I don't really think anyone looks back on that team and is like, "Oh man, I hate that this team couldn't get it done. This team's a bunch of losers. That's why
Mm.
they couldn't get it done." I know injuries played a role, but even '07, I feel like fans don't really look back on that team being like, "Oh, this team's a bunch of losers. They couldn't get it done." So I kind of feel the same way about this Sabres team if they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and like go out in the Eastern Conference Finals. I like sure I'll be very upset in the moment, but I feel like in a few years I'll only look back on this team with fond memories of, really everything. So I think at this point, yeah, I think they're in like a pretty good spot in terms of how fans view them, kind of through a historical lens of this franchise. I think for a lot of people, I mean, especially happy for like the younger fans too, like seeing the turnout at Canal Side, like
Yeah.
like those kids there
They're
probably weren't
young.
even alive for, or at least don't even really remember the last time the Sabres like were in the playoffs. A lot of them probably weren't even alive when the Sabres last won a playoff series. So I like for all this younger group, to be able to experience this team, I think it's just awesome for them because like the '06, '07 teams, I was like third, fourth grade. That was just such a huge part of my childhood in Western New York, just falling in love with those teams. So it's really cool to have, this new generation of younger hockey fans kind of have a team who they can hopefully long term kind of, just remember like throughout their life. Like this was a really fun hockey team. These guys played hard every night. They really represented the city of Buffalo well.
Speaking of representing the city of Buffalo, to those young fans, have a ball. Trust me, you don't know when this team will make the playoffs again. Have
Yeah.
fun, but represent the fan base well and the city well, and yeah, there's rumors of something that might have
Yeah. Avoid
happened
a
or whatever.
Habs fan TV controversy.
Yeah, we're not gonna get into it. I kind of wasn't super. I was just getting smoked at work again, so I didn't really see what was going on. You explained it to me right before we got on. And all I'll say is, look, just have as much fun as you can, but be safe and represent the city like you should. You know,
Yeah.
I know things
I,
can get a little crazy. People can kind of bait you and stuff like that, but just,
yeah.
and it's easy for me to say, sitting here, but like just again, first and foremost, have fun. It's supposed to be fun, but also, be safe and try not to, do anything stupid.
Yeah, it's just I feel like it's so different than like when they last made the playoffs too, because like these content creators stuff. Like I know I'm speaking about this like on a Sabres podcast
I
where I'm on
know, but
video, so I'm
it,
technically,
it's
but
I it's
it's like the
different.
in person content creators like a little bit different, like the street interviewer style.
But and it's well, we did like which I still haven't found the guys. I actually tried to look it up, but we
Oh
did an
yeah,
interview with
no,
someone.
I like yeah that stuff I like where it's like
Yeah. But
informative
like
question. The guy clearly
yeah.
knew about the team, like
Yeah, and
that stuff
he
I'll
was
take.
cool. Yeah, yeah, and he was just
Yeah,
asking us, but, like, the antagonistic and purposely antagonistic
yeah.
content just drives me. I'm so over that.
I
It's
know.
just like
It's
like,
there's so many people that do it too.
I'm gonna go rage bait you. It's just like, what is this, 2012? Like, what are we doing here? Like, again, that's just me, though. If that's something you wanna do,
I think
guess
it's
if you're
for
right, but
everyone. I can't imagine many people are a fan of that. I noticed it in Boston too. There's like
it's weird.
some popular hockey YouTuber that I think he like went to the games. He's not a Sabres fan, but he's wearing like Sabres stuff and was like hanging outside the arena and like
Just
Oakley sunglasses or something, just like with a camera guy just like saying stuff to Bruins fans. It's just I don't really think there's
like
a place for
it's
that
there's
stuff.
not a place for, and it's also just like that's not something I would ever do. So I just don't get it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't like. It's the part that like it's the not understanding it is like why are you doing this? Like I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know.
That's just me. That's a whole nother conversation I really don't want to get into because there's a lot of confusion these days. It's like what are you doing? So anyway,
Yeah, it's just cheap content. It's easy to make and
yeah.
it's easy to get views on. It's just it takes no effort. You literally just got to show up with a camera and say stuff. I know Habs fan TV's like a little bit more developed, but
Yeah.
yeah, like we were saying with like that crew down at Canal Side, there's definitely a lot of younger kids that are drinking down there.
Yeah, behave,
That
be
yeah, that's
safe.
just not someone I would want to like, kind of try to antagonize. Like you don't want to antagonize
No.
like a guy that had his first beer or
You
like
don't wanna antagonize a
first few
group of
beers.
people too. You know,
Yeah,
like, how people act individually versus when they're with all their friends or with, like, a group of people.
yeah, and
It's
you're a
different.
younger kid too. You just don't really think like
No.
long term, especially when you've been drinking too. Like you're kind of just
Yeah.
like, oh, this guy's saying stuff. Let me like push him or something. I just feel
Yeah.
like it's not like
Dude.
the Sabres Arena, or I mean Canal Side specifically. Yeah, I just feel like it's not the place to kind of be like an away team content creator trying to like antagonize
Yeah, like,
fans.
the people that show up and they get booed and they're like, "Oh, yeah, hi, whatever." Like,
Yeah,
and if someone does something to you, it's just like, "Hey, no." And, like, if you're antagonizing people, do you still deserve to whatever happened to the person to get, like, assaulted or
no,
whatever?
yeah,
Apparently, which, like, I'm not saying it happened or didn't happen or whatever. I'm just saying in general, whether this is a Utah versus Colorado game or whatever, like, does someone
yeah.
deserve that? No. But, like, again, maybe think about the situation you're putting yourself in. Do you deserve that? Absolutely not. No one does. But the person that's walking around like, "Oh, yeah, hi, guys, I'm the enemy," whatever, like, that person deserves a way less, I'll say that for sure,
Yeah, I
so
think it's just like cheap content and
it's
just
lame.
with like the age range kind of at
Yeah.
Canal Side, it's like going to like a frat party or like something and trying to
Which,
antagonize people and like
yeah,
yeah, that stuff like never ends well. So
I'm not
I
much of
I
a
don't know. Yeah,
I'm
like
not much of
I
a
don't
frat guy, yeah. I don't
yeah.
wanna be caught up in that, and I will say,
Yeah.
like, as someone that's, like, grown up and, like, kinda, like, looking back at, like, that time of my life, like, I guarantee it may not be like for these situations, but those kids will all have a situation where they look back, they're like, "I can't believe I was that stupid." I do it all the
Yeah.
time where I was like, "I can't believe I was that stupid or that rude or whatever," or just like clueless. And yeah, just don't do that to the point where you're in like actual trouble or causing harm to someone else or something like that. So yeah, I see a lot of young kids down there. Number one, have fun. I'm not trying to say don't have fun, but protect yourself, protect your friends, protect the people that are in other jerseys as well. Because at the end of the day, it's a sport, we don't want anyone getting
Yeah.
hurt or whatever, like,
Well, it sounds like Sabres fans did step in after it happened, like
did it?
according to their letters. So
Good,
I
good.
guess that's I just don't think like this should be like kind of a like Montreal fans being like, "Oh, all Sabres fans are lunatics." Like it was one guy,
Yeah. Look,
isolated incident. Like it's just
yeah,
I I don't know. I feel like for the most part,
yeah,
I mean, there weren't many Bruins fans honestly for like the first series, so it was like tough to kind of compare it to. But
yeah.
the Bruins fans that were there is just like booing, and they go about their way.
Yeah, they were
I
just like,
just think,
"Ah, yeah,
yeah,
whatever."
it's
Yeah.
just like when the away fans kind of try to antagonize the home fans,
Yeah.
and I saw it a few times in Boston too with some Sabres fans
Yeah, it's
kind
like,
of going like a
"Why?"
little over the top, and
Yeah, stop.
half the time it ends in a fight.
Yeah, it's
I,
is it
I
worth it? No,
yeah,
man. It's
it's
just
just
not.
yeah, you gotta if you're an away fan, you gotta realize you're an away fan. Sometimes I
Yeah,
just
like,
think,
you can stand up and cheer, and, like, if people are, like, yelling
yeah,
at you for that, but, like, look, I stand up and I'm clapping for my team, but if you are the one initiating that crap or talking like, of course. Like, come on,
yeah,
stop acting like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this happened." Really? Really? Again, no one deserves to get assaulted or whatever, get their hands put on them. But if you're going at people all the time, some idiot's going to do something stupid. And unfortunately,
yeah, I
and then, of
know,
course, unfortunately, if something happened in Boston to a Sabres fan, then we'd be like, "Oh, Boston fans are," yeah, you don't wanna paint people with a broad brush. Same thing with this
yeah.
thing. Be safe, protect yourselves, your friends, your family, and again, people in other uniforms, as long as they're not doing anything horrible to other people, kind of thing. So I didn't realize we were gonna get like preachy here or whatever, but yeah, like it's a sport. I love the Sabres. I love hockey, but it's not worth it, man. It's not. It's
Yeah, I
just not
know. To
worth it.
pick up a charge over pushing some Canadians guy on roller skates.
Yeah, man. And also, like, I will say it is super cringy that they send people down with roller skates down here. It
Yeah.
just is. Like, I'm not defending them for that, but I'm defending people that get like physically assaulted. Don't do that. Don't do that. So
Yeah, it's just overall though, the crowd down there has been incredible. It's cool
yeah,
too that game 6 they're having, I think, the first watch party in the arena. They're
yeah.
finally moving away from the casino sponsored watch parties, which I don't think have been too well attended so far.
I don't know. I have my opinions, and I get it at some point, and I also other points where it's just like just open up the thing. I just
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway,
They
okay.
have like
I think
$5 tickets too. Like, not terrible. I think it goes to the
are they
Alumni
really?
Association. Yeah.
Really? Dang, for $5, I might go down there. Dang, I thought it was gonna be a little bit more than that.
Yeah,
I
I
thought it was gonna be
know.
like 10, maybe 15, $20 like that. $5. I can if you can grab the train down for something like that, you can make that into like a $10 evening for, you and some friends or family, stuff like that. Seems
Yeah,
like
I
fun.
think that too, like, there's, like, a big demographic of people that, like, can't go to bars, like, if you're, like, under 21, like, the bar's
Well,
strict with the I
well,
mean, some of the bars here are pretty strict with IDs and stuff, so,
okay. They let
uh
me into the bar the other week.
yeah. No,
What do you
yeah,
say?
I mean, I know I was under 21 a while ago, so maybe things have changed over the last decade, but I feel like technology's only gotten better, so I can't imagine it's too different, and then too, if you got, like, younger kids too, or even kids that are, like, you know, 12, 10, going to the arena and watching the game with a bunch of other fans could be a much better option than trying to go to, like, a crowded bar if you want, like, an
or
atmosphere with
or like
fans,
an
so
actual crowded game because there's not gonna the
yeah,
stadium's not gonna be filled up. It's gonna be filled pretty well for sure, but, like, it's not gonna be,
yeah,
like, crazy, and, like, if you leave during the 3rd period, like, no one's gonna give you a glare. Usually, if you're leaving with kids anyway, no one's going to, but especially in that one, it's like, "Look, like, we're just gonna finish watching it on TV at home, and I'm gonna get the kid to bed, like, who cares?" It might be a good
yeah.
opportunity for you, and if it's cheap, go enjoy. That sounds
Yeah,
great.
so that's why I love the idea because yeah, it gives
Yeah,
people that probably weren't able to enjoy Sabres games with a bunch of other fans the first round and the first few games of this round. It gives them like an
yeah.
option to go out and go do that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I think that's after talking about some not so fun stuff there at the end, which didn't really realize we're gonna do that. That is a fun thing. Grab some friends, grab some family, hop out there. Hopefully, the Sabres don't even make it to game 6 because they've already won the series, but if they do, that might be a fun thing to go check out. Who knows? Maybe I end up there as well. Will I be on vacation? At some point, there's going to be a week where we don't record, by the way, because I will be out of town, but other than that, we will be back next week, probably again midweek ish. Again, Walt, final word.
My final word will be Sabres in 6.
I'm going Sabres in 7. Y'all have a good night. We'll catch you on the next one.